Hello and welcome to this very first edition of Business Insights. I'm so pleased. My name is Iben. I'm your host, but enough about me. Let's talk about my guest today, Natalie Benway Correll with The Lived Life. And Natalie, thank you, first of all, for being here. I appreciate it.
Course. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Natalie. So I've interviewed over 100 business owners in the Iowa City area over the past 4 years, and I've yet to interview a therapist. So this is exciting for me. And you know what? I'll probably be a better person by the end of this just because of you. So tell me, all right, so Natalie, I'm an old guy, you're a kid, but somewhere along the line, you got into this and you said, I want to be a therapist. Tell me about that mindset, that reasoning.
When I honestly, at first, when I got my degree in English and sexuality studies, I've always been interested in learning about relationships and sexuality. And I initially wanted to be a sex therapist because I
Okay.
was really curious. And I took a break for a while, really didn't have any idea of what it was that I wanted to do, moved out of Iowa City for a bit, and then went to the School of Social Work here at the University of Iowa and graduated in 2006. And I really honed my degree to focus on relationships and sexuality. And so 2006 graduated and then eventually went into clinical work. I didn't think I was going to be a therapist. Honestly, I
Really?
was like, I don't know what else I want to do. I was committed though, and I could talk endlessly with people. I wanted to answer the question, what is a healthy relationship? Because I didn't really understand it. And that was like a real driving question for me. What is a
Right.
healthy relationship?
And Natalie, your timing could have been more perfect, honestly, with the current climate that we're living in. And so many people are exploring who they are. And not just in the matter of gender, but really in a maybe as deep or deeper space on why am I here? Why,
Mhm.
what is my true purpose? What is my true calling?
That's right.
Um, you and I both as business owners and working with business owners, we see it every day how the current climate is business owners can't find employees. And part of that reason is because these 20-year-olds are really questioning everything. And
Mhm.
now I'm way older than all of them. And my mindset back when I graduated from college was get a job, get to work, raise a family, bada boom, bada bing, right?
Absolutely.
And that pendulum has completely gone the other direction. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. Right now is such an incredible time because there's 5 generations in the workforce.
Right.
And one of the projects that I'm developing with the Well of Life right now is I work with a lot of moms, and I've talked to a lot of moms who are really concerned about their adult children and the fact that they're not feeling their kids don't seem to have a whole lot of direction. The landscape that they're going into in the workforce is pretty grim. They have really the highest levels, at least reported, of anxiety and depression of any generation. And I think also the Gen Xers and the millennials that are employing them have a hard time understanding them. And
No,
so,
absolutely, Natalie. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're
oh,
spot on. You're spot on because my generation is shut up and go to work. Just stop it. Just go to work. Right.
right. And I think what this generation has to offer, though, is like, why do we just have to accept the status quo? There's another way. And I think
Mhm.
that's really inspiring to me and I think that all the generations can learn from one another. Maybe Gen Xers can say, okay, it's okay to do some hard things sometimes. If you are like, if your mental health is being taken care of, what I'm hearing pretty consistently from Gen Xers is that like they just want to be seen and heard and they want to
Right.
feel they have a say. Just every generation has had their issue or like the older generation doesn't understand them. We've all had that experience.
Mhm.
But something that I'm really passionate about is like helping people be willing to have challenging or hard conversations and stay in the heat. Be committed to like trying to understand each other instead of trying to be right.
Absolutely. You know the expression adapt or die. Right? And
Right.
when
That's
I
great.
was coming in, yeah, when I was coming into the workforce, I tried to adapt to them. And now we've shifted to where now I need to adapt to that younger generation so that we can have a good, cohesive communication with one another.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think both people both have to understand one another, right? Something that I've heard from a few employers that I've talked to of Gen Zers is that they expect to come into an entry level job and make $75,000 a year. And it's no, you got to work up to that, man.
Right. Right.
Can't just make a milli as soon as you get into the workforce.
That's absolutely correct. That's 100% correct.
Uh-huh.
So now you're in with a couple other folks. Describe your business model, okay? So I understand it better.
Okay. I've got Iowa City Holistic Therapies, which is my one-on-one practice, holistic psychotherapy practice. And
Right.
then the Well Lived Life is initially I started the Well Lived Life actually during the pandemic
Mhm.
because one of the I was completely overwhelmed with, just like everyone else was hearing, just so much overwhelm, and my emotional capacity was like I was like heading to burnout. And I revisited my childhood love of horses.
Right.
And and I honestly have learned so much about relationships with horses because the way
Mhm.
that with horses is I did a training program in California, and I grew up like trying to be around horses as much as possible, but I didn't have access because my family didn't have enough money. And they didn't know that I could hang out at the barn and maybe do a trade. So any opportunity I could, I was around them. And so during the pandemic, I started riding again and then did the training. And the work that I do is being with horses. Most people are used to doing with them. I'm interested in learning from their herd dynamics and how they communicate and set boundaries and how they are in relationship with one another and how much we can learn from that. I I become a part of the herd, and I've never felt more. It's wild. I've literally hung out with herds of wild horses and I've never felt more relaxed, which is so far.
Okay, I'm trying to envision Natalie out with a herd of wild horses. I'm okay going to the barn and maybe rubbing their soft nose, but you've taken this to a whole nother role, Natalie.
And what I've noticed is if it really trains me to get quiet, to
Okay.
be I'm in their space. I'm going into their environment. And so when I get really grounded and I'm in the moment, then I'm in their world.
Right.
And that's like such a lesson for how we're always in our humans are in our stories about what's happening.
Yep.
We don't often just see the reality. I'm sitting here with a herd of horses. It's like we tell all these stories about what they're doing
Right.
that might not have any basis in reality. And so I really want to get to dropping into present moment awareness.
Mhm.
And they're like a portal, that present moment awareness. So anyways, I created the Well Lived Life because I wanted to create retreats and groups and different programming for women in particular to explore, get down into four pillars, explore ease, pleasure, creativity, and empowerment.
Mhm.
I didn't know the first thing about starting a business. I have a tendency to just jump all in and just
You're okay. You're not alone. Yeah.
I mean, I just committed myself to like throwing things at the wall to see like what worked. And then after doing that for a year and a half, I was just like, okay, I need a little, I wanted more structure and business like guidance.
Yeah.
And I enrolled in venture school through the University of Iowa, which is an
Right.
incredible program. And they're helping me to develop a project that I'm developing a mental health and wellness program for Gen Zers and those who employ Gen Zers.
That's fantastic. And the work that you do is admirable because you're right. So many of us all have our own narratives in our mind of how we think life should be. And sometimes, and this is where you come in, sometimes those narratives may have to be rewritten and to adjust with the reality of the situation. And I'm not saying kill your dreams or kill your perception of the world around you, but there's got to be a dovetailed blend of that narrative that we've had for so long. It might be derived from childhood events, And then, but now we need to come in and cope with the reality of a situation that we just didn't plan for. And
Mhm.
how do we mesh that, stitch it together? And that's exactly where you come in helping people get there.
Yeah, and I think something that's been really important to me is that a lot of us I don't wanna be the one who's telling people what a well-lived life is to them, 'cause it's different for all of us. But
Right.
what I want to do is create spaces where people can explore that and maybe challenge some of the systems that tell us, "This is what you need in order you need to have a big house and 2.5 kids," and we're seeing, I think, so wonderfully from this Gen X that, like, they have a different idea of what maybe a well-lived life looks like for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So now let's talk about you, your business model, just for a second. So we get wrapped up in our day-to-day operations. Tell me how you balance your day-to-day operations. You're running your therapy practice. You're seeing patients days of the week, and yet you still got this long-term vision. And we've built a culture. You have a culture within your collective. You have a culture with your private practice. You have a culture, but you've got this long-term vision. So tell me about that roadway. What does that look like for you? How do you manage that to get to where you want to go?
So, it's been a learning process for sure. I think the first and most important piece is that everything is I'm building a foundation of both self and collective care. You know, I talk to my clients all the time, to my friends about burnout. Burnout is such an issue now, more so than ever after the pandemic. And I'm deeply committed to being outside, spending time with horses, spending time with friends who are like who I feel really safe and secure with. Regular therapy appointments for me, like moving my body, like all of those, it feels like a million different things, but nothing else works if I'm giving from an empty cup, and I'm doing a lot
Right.
of things. I have a certain amount of my week that is set aside for my caseload with my therapy clients. And then am I working a lot more than I used to? Absolutely, because that's part of building a new business.
Right.
And so I'm just starting to really put together a business model canvas. I did that with actually a student group through the University of Iowa, also took the life on for a project,
Right.
uh, which was wonderful. And I loved working with the students. But I'm starting, I'm developing the business model for the well lived life right now.
Fantastic. That's great. And you're right. You're exactly right. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And as business owners, I just encouraged one of my clients to take a 3-week camping road trip up to Canada, and he had
Yes.
been in business. He had been in business for 17 years and really had never taken a vacation before. So I coached him 2 years prior. We got him to the point to where he was okay going. Just met with him yesterday. One of the best trips that he's had. Able to get away was just such an eye opener for him. And he has this Iowa mentality that so many of us have. It's just work until you die. The thing.
Grind culture. And
It is.
grind culture, and it's a big hip word, and we're so taught to be productive at all times. And the research out there very clearly says that like you absolutely need those like it actually improves your productivity when you are taking
Mhm.
breaks, when you are regularly taking care of yourself.
That's
Um
right.
so it's really just like a nasty habit that isn't working. And I am listening to people like Prentice Hemphill and Adrienne Marie Brown, who are Sonia Renee Taylor, who are folks of culture, and they're talking about rest. Rest is absolutely necessary. It's restore so that
Yes.
we can actually do more meaningful work.
And we're our better selves when we're interacting with other people. We're better. We're a better version of ourselves. We're well rested, and we feel, I want to say, all welled up, but we feel like we're full. Right? You go out with horses and you come back and you're on cloud nine, right?
Yeah, I'm ready to yeah, take on the world. And literally all I did this last weekend, for hours. I just sat in the paddock with them and I tried to journal and they tried to eat my journal and it was just glorious. I
As,
just
as,
up. It's medicine.
as horses, I love horses. I have relatives who are farmers and they have horses. Yeah, I used to milk cows back in the day when I was in high school. That was a while ago.
But meditative sometimes.
That's one word for it. So, Natalie, and I don't want to take too much of your time. Give us some parting advice for other folks who would see this, other women, other young business owners. What's your nugget? What's your golden nugget for them?
Keep going and find people who are actually your people. And there's room for all of us. Just uplift one another. And yeah, and I think especially in like the corridor, there's some really amazing opportunities to connect with other business owners. Uh, Dream City is doing some really incredible offerings. I've got the Women's Wealth and Empowerment Group. There's Business Besties. So lots of different opportunities for folks to uplift one another and grow their businesses.
Absolutely. There is, thankfully, in the community that we reside, there are no lack of resources available. From free to paid, anywhere in between, we have got all kinds of resources for business owners or would-be business owners.
Mhm.
And we don't have to stumble in the dark. We need to find a partner, a mentor that's been there and can help us out.
Absolutely. And that's what I've really been committed to. It took a minute to find some folks. The University of Iowa Venture School is affordable. They have lots of different mentors that I've been able to talk to and that have helped me get some clarity about my business. There's so many wonderful business coaches in town. Beth Prusner is another one. I'm sure you're an amazing one. Can't wait to talk to you more.
Mm.
Whereas my role is to help somebody support them in coming to a solution that works for them in their time. And a
Right.
lot of times, certainly it takes what it takes. I think if somebody is willing to consistently show up, depending upon their background, it really takes a lot for some folks to take micro steps.
It does.
And and I found that a lot of people are used to things being pretty crappy, not only in their
Hmm.
heads, but in their
Hmm.
lives. And
Hmm.
what's actually scarier is to consider things being better.
It
That's
comes, it's building trust, right? Even if it's just trusting your own instincts. But you can't be a human on the planet Earth today and not have been burned by somebody along the way.
of course. Yeah,
And and then we just start to build these walls and our trusting gets less and less, right? Uh,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
and yeah,
it's a self-protective measure, honestly.
it is. And that's why I think like a safe coaching relationship or therapy or mentorship, like it's a really important. And you're modeling sometimes for the first time
Right.
what a trusting relationship can be. Because
Mhm.
there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that I talk to who like definitely didn't get that in their families growing up. And then many really traumatic things happen, right? I think it takes what it takes. It's
It
hard
does.
when you can see folks getting in their own way and making choices that where they get in their own way. And so I think just again, it all comes back to that safe and secure relationship.
Yeah, and that's the key word, isn't it? Relationship, because in your practice and my practice, what we're really forming is a long-term, ideally, a long-term relationship because we do want to see, I want to see their businesses get better. You want to see them individually get better, right? And we don't do that in a 3 sessions, $400. We don't, that's not it.
No.
It isn't about that. It's, look, I'm willing to enter into this engagement with you and I'm willing to walk with you on this path. And if sometimes you stumble, I'll be there to help pick you up. If sometimes you want to just walk very slowly, I will walk slowly with you, but we will go through this process together and we
Yeah,
build that relationship.
absolutely. And I think also creating communities of collective care so that everybody has their skin in the game and can feel like I've definitely been a part of some just absolutely incredible the WWE, the Women's Wealth and Empowerment Group. When we first launched it, I launched it with my friend Beth Prusner. We just wanted to we just called in a group of women, and we ended up having 13 women that consistently showed up. And we took huge leaps in our businesses. And again, the foundation was just we were rooting for each other. We were able to really support one another and bring the energy of the group when we were taking leaps that were really for a lot of us, increasing prices. Or for me, I crowdfunded to be able to go to California and do a horse training. It was what am I doing right now? But everybody was just do this. You were meant to do this. And I'm so glad I did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love this. All right. Look, it was 40 minutes of great discussion. And I
Wonderful.
thank you. I thank you so much. All right. Real quick, where can we find you? Phone number, address, give us all the details.
Yes, you can reach me at nbenway at welllivedlife.org, or websites are www.welllivelife.org or iowacity.holistictherapies.com.
Fantastic. And if someone wants to get in touch with you, is email the best method?
Yes, email or either my nbenway at welllivedlife.org or Natalie Benway at hotmail.com.
Fantastic. Natalie, don't go away. I will just wrap this up, but hang on for a
Thank
second. Thank you all for joining us today. This has been fantastic. It'll go on our YouTube channel. Natalie, you'll get a copy. If you want to send it to whomever you want, please feel free to do it. Thank you. My name is Lee Iben, and my guest today was Natalie Benway Correll. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.